When the audience hear you preach, they don't hear a sermon, they hear you. That's a quote from this book that I was reading. I'm walking around the church here today, and as I'm reading this book by Haddon Robinson, Biblical Preaching, it just stuck out to me. It blows me away. I mean, it's so true, but it's so simple, and yet it's so profound. When we're preaching, it's not necessarily just the sermon that they're hearing. They're hearing everything that God has been doing in our lives. Are we actually living what we're preaching, what we're teaching? One of my homiletics teachers used to say it this way: you need to taste it before you serve it. Can I ask you, I don't know if you're teaching or preaching this coming weekend, but the sermon you're going to preach on Sunday, the lesson you're going to teach on Sunday, have you been trying to live it? Have you been trying to experience it yourself? That's one thing I'm thinking about right now. As I'm praying and walking around our church, I'm wondering, am I living what I'm going to be preaching this Sunday? You know, it's like, it's such a big thing. Friend, one thing is for sure, our world needs less regurgitation and more preaching that comes from a life that really lives it and really knows the truth by experience. I think it might have been Tozer who said that God needs men, or maybe it's not God needs men, but the church needs men who know God by more than just hearsay. That's my heart, and I hope that's your heart, that when we get up to preach, we know Him and we know the truth. And it's not just something that we heard somebody else say, and we're not just regurgitating, but we're preaching from a heart that's full. Someone else used to say, preach from the overflow. You know, throughout the week, you're studying and you're praying and you're meditating. Then when you get up to preach in the pulpit, you're preaching from a heart that's full. You're preaching from the overflow, and you're not just scraping something together at the last minute. You're not just saying things that you've heard said. You know, you're not just repeating truisms. And even if you do repeat a truism, you're repeating it because it's like inside you now. And so I was just reading that. I picked up the camera. I'm like, man, I just want to spill this out there, friend. As you're getting ready for Sunday, make sure, Lord, I want this to be in me. I want to preach this from a heart that's overflowing with the truth that I will be preaching. And if you haven't already picked it up, you guys got to pick up this book, Biblical Preaching by Haddon Robinson. I'm just a few pages in, and I'm already loving it. I think I've read parts of it before, but I've never just sat down and read the entire book. And so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to keep you guys updated on some things that stick out. But we are so privileged that we're able to preach. Stay encouraged in the Lord, my friend, and we'll talk to you soon.